to go.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Metro Outer Development Assessment Panel. My name is Gene Coltas. I'm presiding member. Hello, the agenda, item 1, opening of the meeting. I will open the meeting at 1 p.m. In doing so, I acknowledge we're hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respect to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with DAP Standing Orders 2025 and DAP Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'll introduce the members present. As I said, Gene Coltas is my name, presiding member. Lou De Lissandro to my left is deputy presiding member. Heidi Herget to his left is specialist member. On part B of the agenda for City of Wanneroo, we have Councillor Sonnet Coetzee, and we'll welcome President Rob Coles from Shire of Serpentine, Jarrahdale later. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies. I have apologies from Councillors Bronwyn Smith and Councillor Jackie Huntley from the City of Wanneroo and Councillor Nathan Bishop from Shire of Serpentine, Jarrahdale. Item 3 on the minutes, noting minutes of previous meetings, and they're all available on the DAP website. Part B of the agenda, City of Wanneroo application. Item 1 is the declaration of due consideration. Will all panel members indicate that they have considered all the documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information? Please show your hand, raise your hand. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is disclosures of interest. Could I check with you, Councillor Coetzee, whether this item was before council meeting or a briefing meeting? No, thank you. Does any other member have a declaration of interest? No. Okay, next item on the agenda is Form 1 DAP application for Part Lot 9002 Marmion Avenue, Alkimos, the proposed shopping centre. We have one presenter today on this item, Mark Reed from Planning Solutions. Mr. Reed, you know the we also have a number of members from the applicants team. When they speak, I'll get them to tell us their name. Mr. Reed, we've got a 3-minute time frame. Let's continue.
Thank you, presiding member, and good afternoon, panel members. I will be speaking in support of the application. I am joined by several members of our project team, mainly from Shire Capital, the proponent, and the design team, Place Fabric. We are pleased to receive the City's Responsible Authority report and recommendation to approve this application. Thank Aaron and the City's officers for their engagement and collaboration throughout the application process. This proposal represents a significant investment and development in the Alkimos City Centre. The shopping centre will be one of the first developments in the precinct and give life to the comprehensive precinct planning and infrastructure coordination undertaken by Development WA and the state government dating back several years. The shopping centre will provide a diverse range of retail, commercial and community services, catering for the daily and weekly goods and services for residents, visitors and workers within the emerging locality. The design team has worked closely with the estate developer, Development WA, over a number of years to establish a high-quality architectural design for the centre. The design outcome is a pedestrian-focused Main Street development and internal mall with high-quality landscaping integrated into the design and public realm. The application is supported by a suite of technical consultant reports as contained in the RAR that demonstrate the development can operate appropriately without impact to the future surrounding areas or wider locality. This proposal has strong planning and design merit, and we request the panel approve it. We do request a minor amendment to condition 24. That's the new condition proposed in the RAR addendum. The requested amendments and reasons are outlined in my presentation summary. We do not oppose the entire condition, however, propose minor amendments to limit the scope of the additional traffic assessment to the proposed development traffic only. As it is currently drafted, the condition suggests the additional traffic assessments should assess the surrounding intersections and provide details for the future contributions for the ultimate design of the Karambinini Street and Romeo Road intersection. In our view, these matters are precinct-wide traffic considerations and extend beyond the scope of this proposed development. As outlined in my presentation summary, a comprehensive traffic assessment for the entire precinct was prepared as part of the Alkimos Central Precinct Structure Plan. As outlined in Dev WA's letter attached to my presentation summary, comprehensive traffic modelling has been undertaken for the precinct and its associated development potential over the next 30 years. As confirmed by Dev WA and the structure planning traffic assessment, the Karambinini Street and Romeo Road intersection has been modelled, designed and constructed as an unsignalised intersection, with investigations for signalisation to occur in the future once Romeo Road traffic volumes have settled after the Mitchell Freeway extension. The comprehensive planning and traffic assessments for the precinct demonstrate that the traffic associated with this development can easily be accommodated. We've also discussed the requested amendments to Condition 24 with Aaron at the City, of the understanding that they support the amendment. For these reasons, we request the panel approve the application and amend Condition 24. Thank you.
Mr. Reid. I'll have questions from the panel. Councillor Kurtz, do you have any questions? No? Other panel members? Member Hager?
This is directed towards the applicant. I guess in relation to condition 24, just generally, there's remarks in the RAR that refer to the horizon year for the traffic assessment, and that there was an indication that 2031 was not far enough advanced into the future, so not beyond the 10 years plus timeframe. Has there been a revised traffic report prepared and submitted to the City Wanneroo and or Main Roads, GPLH?
There hasn't at this time, and that's the context of Condition 24.
A couple of just design questions. How many Acrod bays are on this site? I can only see 2.
Steph, would you like to?
Just checking off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's definitely more than 2. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Acrod bays.
Thank you. Other questions I have are to council. So.
Okay, thank you. No further questions of the presenter? No? Okay, thank you. I'll now refer to the council officer. And did you wish to make a comment on the presentation at all?
Thanks, Bloody Member. I've got a brief just outline summary, if I may, just to run through and I guess detail our RAR submission, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So as you can see through the RAR, the city's completed its assessment of the proposed Alkimos Shopping Centre, which represents that first development in the Alkimos City Centre. The proposal delivers a mix of retail, commercial, childcare and medical uses consistent with the strategic intent for a secondary centre under SPP 4.2. While the design does not fully achieve the long-term high-density vision of ACP 89, it provides strong pedestrian connectivity, active street frontages, and land uses appropriate for an initial stage. The development provides a total of 301 vehicle parking bays on site, which is a 47-bay surplus, as well as 89 trees, an 89-tree surplus on the site as well. During the consultation, key issues raised included traffic impacts, accessibility, and alignment with the structure plan. The traffic modelling was a significant focus of referrals from both DPLH and Main Roads, particularly regarding the unsignalised intersection of Romeo Road and Karambinini Street, and whether the development would trigger these upgrades. The applicant's TIA indicated acceptable performance. However, both agencies requested CITRA analysis modelling for a 10-year horizon to confirm the level of service and identify any need for signalisation. As Mr. Ree outlined, the previous traffic analysis undertaken for the intersection does indicate that a level of service A and 24 for the intersection, a 10-year horizon from the date of operation of the development as required by the WAPC TIA guidelines. ACP 89 identifies Romeo Road and Caminini Street intersection as being signalised in the future, but does not give a specific trigger for these intersection upgrades. It is therefore important that all stages of development consider potential impacts to ensure upgrades are not required as a direct result of the proposal. These upgrades would not be the responsibility of the proponent, and we would expect the developer to undertake these upgrades. The City supports the recommendations of Main Roads and DPLH and has imposed condition 24. As the presenters indicated, we are supportive of those modifications. Land uses were carefully considered with a range of uses approved across the site. It is also worth noting that as the commercial zoning does allow for many of the proposed uses as they are P uses, although the applicant has requested for those to be included nonetheless. The City does not support the use of tenancies 12 and 13 for private recreation. These tenancies front the prominent laneway location identified within ACP 89 as a key pedestrian link intended for active retail and hospitality uses. Allowing private recreation in this location would undermine activation and the vision for a vibrant pedestrian-focused environment. Instead, these spaces should accommodate uses that contribute to street-level activity and interaction. Other conditions address landscaping detail, acoustic compliance, bush fire management, and operational plans for waste and licensed premises. Collectively, these measures ensure the development operates effectively and aligns with planning objectives. In conclusion, the proposal demonstrates sound planning merit and, subject to conditions, will deliver a well-designed centre that supports initial growth for the first stages of the centre. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Panel members, any questions of Mr. Jones? No?
Just a quick one clarification. Marmion Avenue is referred to in the RAR as another regional road, which it is indeed under the MRS, but under the jurisdiction of Main Roads, it should not read under the, I guess, jurisdiction to some degree of DPLH. It's not a primary distributor road up there. So is that just a typo?
So sorry, just to clarify, is the question, is Marmion Avenue considered, the referral considered only to Main Roads or to DPLH?
Yeah, that's my question. I know, in fact, it's actually a City Wanneroo road up that section. It has been redesignated and pushed up to Main Roads primary distributor status. So it just reads as if they're the infrastructure asset owner and manager. That's not correct.
No, that's correct. So refer to Main Roads, as you've indicated, as another regional road under Main Roads control, but correct, it is a city asset.
I don't believe it's under Main Roads control unless there's a spike strip along there. So it's DPLH, isn't it?
My understanding, and again, I can stand to be corrected, but under the delegations for local government, for the powers of the local government, under the WAPC instrument of delegation, that is another regional road, but under Main Roads control for the purposes of referrals.
Not entirely correct. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other further questions of Mr. Jones? Yes.
I've got one about the traffic, which is a bit, when you say the proponent is to be responsible, are you talking about Development WA or are you talking about Centura, the applicant? Who is actually responsible for the monitoring and possible upgrade if it's needed?
So the upgrades would be, in the city's eyes, the responsibility of the developer.
Developer as in Development WA?
Correct, yes.
So it's not a condition for the proponent?
It's not a condition for the works to be undertaken by the proponent, rather that the modelling is undertaken by the proponent. If the modelling effectively identifies that that is a requirement, then that would be an expectation of Development WA.
No.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And there were some comments from the design review panel. Are you satisfied that they've all been addressed?
Yes, we are. As we sort of indicated at the start, we do acknowledge that the ACP does have a higher density intent for the area, but there is obviously then a balance between what can be provided, given this is the first stage of development. So we're comfortable with what has been proposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions? Okay, well, we'll now move into the report and the recommendation. Before I can do that, I need a mover to speak to the motion. Do I have a mover? I'll move. Oh. Mr. D'Alessandro.
Thank you.
And I will have a seconder. I'll second it if.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. D'Alessandro.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be supporting the recommendation with some amendments to add condition 24. Amended.
You wish to move that amendment now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to move the amendment and additional condition 24 as outlined in the Planning Solutions report.
Okay, so that's amendment 1 to amend condition 24 as per the applicant's request and supported by council. Go ahead.
On the basis that, as outlined in the report, I don't think it's the sole 100% responsibility of this development to provide those monitoring for the entire area and the upgrade to the intersections at a full cost to the proponent developer. I'm still a bit confused as to who's who on that. So on that
Okay.
basis.
All right. Well, I'll second that and just to reiterate that the proponents and the council are in agreement with the amendment. So does anyone else wish to speak to the amendment? If not, I'll put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Continue, Mr. D'Alessandro.
Thank you. The proposal is consistent with the planning framework. I think it's a well-designed first stage of a needed amenity for the area. I did share the concerns of some of the objectors. However, I think they have all been addressed within the conditions, and also hopefully in the second stage when there are more residents, then the scale and the residential of this area might increase, and I note those objections. I also note the main roads comments, and again, as I said, I don't feel it's 100% the cost of the proponent, and on that basis, we will be supporting it. Put it forward.
Thank you. Look, a seconder, I too will support it. It's a well-designed shopping centre. It's planned with a range of uses envisaged under the activity centre plan, and whilst not achieving the ultimate high density, we know the reasons for that as the development is in the first stage. The result built form, to my mind, delivers a lively mixed-use development, and it's good to see it's focusing on pedestrian movement, linking the centre to the Alkimos train station and town square. The detailed traffic impact assessment and changes resulting from main roads and DPLH concerns confirm that the road network is capable of handling the traffic, and it's good to see that landscaping is a key component of the development, and the proponents have addressed the requirements under the structure plan, and the city requires some more detailed plans to provide incorporate additional local species of trees and plants. In summary, proposed development is considered appropriate and addresses most of the requirements of the activity centre plan, and I consider it will deliver a functional, when-designed centre for a growing suburb. Does anyone else wish to speak to the item? Councillor Coetzee.
I'm happy with the amendment, the changes and everything, and also happy on the community side as well to have this shopping centre coming up as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. D'Alessandro, do you wish to speak further on the item?
No, thank you.
If not, I'll put the item to a vote for the recommendation as amended. All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. For on the agenda, DAP applications we have, and section 31 consideration none. And I thank Mr. Coetzee for your attendance and participation. Thank you. And
Thank you. Keep well.
welcome back to the meeting. For part C of the meeting today, the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale application. Well, I welcome Councillor Coles to the meeting. Oh, sorry, President Coles to the meeting as the panel member from the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale. And the first item on the agenda is the declaration of due consideration. Can all panel members indicate that they have considered all the documentation contained within Part C of the agenda and Part C related information that's been circulating? Please show by raising your hands. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is a declaration of interest from Cole. It's a partiality interest, and prior to this meeting, he considered or participated in council discussion in accordance with his functions as a member of the local government. And as presiding member, I considered his declaration and his ability to sit at the meeting and participate, including voting on the matter. Councillor, the item was considered at the council meeting.
It was, Mr. Chair. I think it was certainly before the elections. It might have been August or September.
Yeah.
Second?
August 18th.
August. So
Yes.
it was considered, Chair, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, authority to sit. Are there any other disclosures of interest from panel members? No. If not, no. Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the application for proposed open operating facility and associated buildings. in Thomas Road, Oakford. We have two presenters on this item today, Mr. Jason Hunt from State West Planning and Belinda Morridge from Morridge Law Legal. We also have a number of members here from the applicants team and landowners online. I'll now invite presenters to make their submission and remind you that it is a 3-minute time limit. Mr. Hunt.
Thank you very much, panel, for your time. My name is Jason Hunt. I'm from State West Planning, and I'm here to represent the landowners. We support the Shire Planning Officer's recommendation for approval, and we do not agree with the DPLH Officer's recommendation for refusal. The application proposes to construct an oat facility with a maximum daily capacity of 240 tonnes of oats. The facility will clean and dry oats sourced from the agricultural regions within Western Australia. Representatives of the landowner group are in attendance and either in person or on Zoom and are available to provide comment on the proposed facility as required. The owners have significant experience in the industry, specifically in the management of grain trucks through the booking systems at facilities, and they have provided the information that is included in the traffic report. The land is zoned rural in the Shire of Serpentine local planning scheme, and the proposed use industry rural is a D use in the zone. We are pleased with the Shire Office's recommendation for approval of the application, and we generally support proposed conditions. However, due to concerns raised by DPLH on the ROW, the applicant has recommended an additional condition to resolve this matter. The additional conditions and a response on all proposed conditions are covered in a separate presentation. Over the past 18 months, we've worked closely with the landowners of the Shire Offices to develop a proposal that meets both the objectives of the facility and the Shire's planning objectives. Through recent engagement with DPLH and Main Roads officers, there have been updates to the lodge plans and the traffic report referenced in the Shire's RAR, specifically the traffic impact statement, referred for consideration by the DAP in Rev H. Copies of this documentation have been provided as part of this deputation, and they have been previously provided to Main Roads and DPLH as referenced in their RAR. The Shire's RAR referenced version G. Main Roads comments provided on this version required amendments to the driveway layout and further details on the management of vehicle movements at the site. Rev H amended the plans in response to this, and there are still further minor changes when working drawings are prepared. The DPLH RAR references Rev I. It is, however, clear in the RAR that DPLH received comments from Main Roads on Rev H. The DPLH reference to version I is because DPLH raised concerns over a minor encroachment into the existing right-of-way. The changes from version H to I occurred to seek to respond to this by moving the driveway. These changes are no longer required as the Shire, through signing the DA and the MRS forms, has agreed to allow this minor encroachment to occur. Rev H is now the version relied upon and has been included. A detailed response to the reasons for refusal from DPLH have been provided, and the traffic consultant is available on Zoom to respond to any questions on their report. In conclusion, the use can be approved within the zone. The recommended support of the Shire is appreciated. The concerns from DPLH can be suitably managed through the conditions as outlined in the next deputation. This project represents a significant investment in the local community, supporting agriculture, creating jobs and value adding to the Shire and the West Australian oat industry. In closing, we respectfully request that the DAP approve the application based on these updated reports and plans and proposed conditions.
Thank you very much. I'll invite Morridge to make her presentation. We'll ask questions.
Thank you very much, presiding member and members of the panel. I don't intend to read verbatim from my dissertation this afternoon. I think it's important just to give some context. This application has been in the system for quite a long time, over 12 months. And unfortunately, as with a lot of these things, it's not until right at the end that there's a flurry of information that gets passed back and forth, and it becomes obvious what's been assessed and what hasn't been, and you could see that from the initial RAR that was received from DPLH in respect of the concerns regarding Rev I of the transport impact assessment, transport impact statement. All of those matters have now been resolved. We now have signatures in respect of the minor encroachment into the right-of-way from the Shire. That right of way was formed as part of a subdivision approval back in the 1960s. It's never been constructed. It's currently vegetated, and as we understand it from our discussions with the Shire, there is no intention at this stage to ever construct that right of way, and it's on that basis that they were very comfortable with signing the forms to allow for for that to form part of the development application. DPLH and Main Roads raised the issue that the right of way might be required at some stage. From our understanding, that is unlikely, and given it's been there for over 50, 60 years now, it's probably very unlikely. However, in order to allay the concerns of DPLH and Main Roads, and also to allay any concerns that the DAP members have, what we have proposed is a condition of development approval, which requires us to remove that driveway in circumstances where the right of way is constructed. And you'll see that proposed condition as an additional condition in the conditions of development approval table, which accompanies my letter and deputation. That's proposed as an additional condition code, and it requires the applicant to enter into which on the construction of the right of way at lot 100 requires the removal of the crossover to Thomas Road, and access to the site to be obtained either via the right of way, if that's acceptable, or via a new crossover approved and constructed further east along Thomas Road, the Thomas Road frontage at a sufficient distance from the right of way. So dealing with that by way of an agreement empowers the Shire to require our existing driveway to be removed in the very unlikely circumstances, I should say, that the right of way is actually constructed. The way in which the site has been designed will accommodate that with very little internal changes, but certainly that would occur at the time that the crossover was required to be removed by way of a separate approval. In relation to the other conditions, there are just a couple of other minor amendments that we have proposed. We say that condition C relating to the traffic impact assessment can be removed. Roads has already assessed the relevant TIA, which is Rev H, and any feedback that's been provided through that assessment process will be included in the condition in the plans which are required by condition B in any event. And I think that's really the only change of substance. The only other amendment that we proposed was just in terms of identifying the appropriate plans that form an approval by reference to their date rather than the date received by the Shire. Thank you very much. We have online Marina Clayweg, who's a transport engineer.
Vincent Tran is a civil engineer.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll open up for the time being for questions from the panel of the presenters. Shire President.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the key thing for me, listening to the residents' ratepayers, is this right of way and the traffic. You have spoken to that. I note that there is a Mr. Tran online there that can talk more about the traffic. But in relation to the right of way, that condition that you talked about, which I think was condition O, what does that actually mean? That allows the Shire to do what specific?
So it requires the Shire. It requires the applicant or landowner to enter into a deed of agreement with the Shire, which would then allow the Shire to close the driveway in circumstances where the right of way was going to be constructed.
Okay.
And usually it's the case, particularly on main roads, that there's a requirement for a make good provision. So if you're taking someone's driveway away because it's dangerous, then you have to provide them with an alternate access. what this does is requires us to take that burden on in circumstances where the right-of-way is constructed, so that there's no interference between the two entrances, because they will be very close together.
Thank you very much. I've got no other questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, yes.
I don't know if is the traffic consultant online.
Yes.
Okay, I've got some questions in terms of the maximum design vehicle that is proposed to enter and exit the site. Can you confirm if it's a 36.5 RAV6/7 vehicle?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Having said that, the proposed driveway, my understanding is it's to be a left in, left out off Thomas Road?
That is correct.
Okay, and in the RER, it talks about the proposed route for these haulage vehicles up to a maximum size of 36.5 would be Anketel, Nicholson, and King Road, and obviously Thomas Road. None of those first three that I mentioned are actually RAV6 or 7. So how does the applicant propose to, and they're also council roads as it stands, so they would have to deal with, I don't know if it's City of Armadale / the Shire of Serpentine, Jarrahdale. Is there going to be some intention to engage with the relevant road authority owners to see if you can get a permit, temporary permit, last mile permit, do a full RAV assessment to upgrade those roads?
I believe that the proponent is a very experienced operator, so they will do whatever needs to be done to make sure that they have safe access to their facility.
So I guess my question is, how can you propose to run trucks on roads that actually are not actually allowed to run on those roads as per the main roads restricted access vehicle network?
I think Thomas Road is.
Thomas Road is, but
Yes.
Anketel, Nicholson, and King are not, because it's a left in, left out, right? It's meant to go in a circle.
You go to the roundabout.
Come off South West Highway onto Thomas Road.
So maybe I should just
Yes.
introduce Johnny Morton, who is one of the proponents. So
Sorry, could I just say none of those roads will be used? So what we're using is Thomas Road and Tonkin Highway, and coming in off Armadale or coming down from Midland. So we're not using Nicholson Road, we're not using King Road, and we're not using the other road at the roundabout.
They're not allowed to with those trucks,
I believe in the report it refers to Anketel, Nicholson, and King. I appreciate that the roads that you're referring to actually are RAV6 or 7. So you're confirming that they're actually gonna run Tonkin, Thomas, maybe go around the roundabout.
Yeah, it's roundabout.
Okay, all
It's
right.
the same trucks that are going down into Kwinana, using Thomas Road to go beyond us into Kwinana and delivering to the other grain companies in that area as well. So we're just taking some of those trucks off that road into us that would normally go past us.
May I just ask a quick question? Could you please let me know which section refers to Anketel Road in our Rev H report?
Well, it's page 313 of the actual app report, and it's page 21 of the RAR of this particular item.
I will have to double check that, because we were testing various scenarios. So it could be that one of the older versions of the report was referenced, where RAV4 network was considered basically having smaller vehicles, but more of them. The client then went with having fewer vehicles that are larger. But now I'm looking at our Rev H, and I'll just have a quick look once more through it. But I don't believe we've mentioned Anketel Road in this last report.
It's in the responsible authority report.
Yeah.
Says the proposed route for haulage vehicles would include Anketel, Nicholson, King Road. So
in the RAR?
Yes, well, I don't know where the council got that, but anyway, been clarified
by the proponent.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you. Any further questions?
Yeah, just following up from, it's my understanding that this application has been in with the Shire for some time, and there's been various versions of the plan and or other supporting reports, including the transport assessment. Now, can you confirm that the latest one is dated, I believe, October? Is that correct?
Sorry, the revision, the latest revision that we prepared was revision I. However, that is not revision that we're referring to. The revision H is the one that we're referring to for this application.
What's the date on that one?
11th of September.
September.
Yes.
Okay. So this RAR refers to the latest one or version H? The September one or the October one? Because there seems to be some discussion in relation to feedback received from Main Roads in early December. And I'm just curious as to which version they provided feedback on.
They provided the December feedback is provided on version I, which is not part of this application. The revision I was prepared in response to department's request to test scenario where the driveway will be separated from the ROW. Which ended up resulting in unacceptable geometry, which Main Roads confirmed that they would not accept that kind of arrangement. Therefore, this revision I and all of the associated December comments are not relevant to this particular to this discussion. Rev H, the September version of the report, is the relevant version.
Okay, so the most recent discussion as documented in the RAR refers to some feedback received from Main Roads a couple of weeks ago.
That is correct.
Has there been a response prepared and any engagement with Main Roads to resolve any of those issues? Well,
the response received from Main Roads is in relation to a test, a driveway test, where the applicant has attempted to satisfy Department of Planning and create a separation between the ROW. Given that the Shire has provided their support and have formally stated they're not concerned about the encroachment, and we do have the proposed condition that is going to be imposed on the client, that geometry that was unsupported by Main Roads has been discarded, and we can go back to the previous version where Main Roads have provided some minor comments where they wanted us to tweak the geometry, and which can be done as a part of detailed design.
Perhaps if I can just explain, if you go to, I don't know if you've got in front of you the additional information that was provided, that the substitute RAR that was prepared by DPLH and came through.
Yes, we do.
So the best way to explain all of that is on page 5 and 6 of that RAR, and it goes through quite helpfully actually the dates of the Main Roads comments. So the Main Roads comments that are relevant now are the ones that appear on page 5 under comments 12 September and 9 October 2025. They relate to, as Marina has mentioned, the things that need to be done for the geometry of the Rev H version of the plans in order to make them satisfactory to Main Roads. And so what we're saying is, well, all of those things really relate to design, and they can be given effect to by the plans that are required by condition B.
The documentation I've got in front of me is a letter dated from Main Roads on the 3rd of December outlining the timeline, and with a significant number of comments relating to design, but also contained within DPLH's RAR and also in the original RAR relate to non-design issues. They relate to traffic generation, origin destination, the basis by which any modeling has been predicated, and that information, has that been provided?
In the information, revision H was provided to Main Roads and a response received back. So concept plans were done and a response, and the TIS was provided to them. And then they provided a response that required the 2 dot points that Belinda had earlier mentioned to be changed, which were to do with detailed designs. The version that you're talking about is comments that were provided on version I, which is related to the letter dated the 3rd of December. And that was where the location of the driveway was moved east in order to respond to DPLH concerns over encroachment. And so the comments that were provided in that were based on those plans that are in there, but comments had already been provided on Rev H.
Okay, but just to sum up, has the transport assessment been updated to address the traffic generation questions that were raised in the RER? I don't see it attached here. And in the context of the design, and I appreciate there's been some back and forth between proximity to the RER, the use of the right of way, etc. I get that. I am an engineer after all. Have the issues related to the proposed driveway design been resolved? And secondly, in relation to any needed upgrades to Thomas Road in the context of either auxiliary lanes or a central median to ensure restriction to left in, left out movements only?
When we moved from version G to version H, those same questions had been asked. And at that point in time, a response was provided to that. And the comments that came back from Main Roads didn't raise those concerns. In terms of the changes to the geometry of the signs, yes, they had been responded to in I.
I guess the answer is no, because I don't see, have those issues been resolved and formally resolved? Because nothing in this report or any of the attachments indicates that Main Roads has signed off on the latest version of the driveway configuration, and they've signed off on the traffic generation issues, because that issue has been raised not once but twice, once by Main Roads and once in the DPLH RAR.
To my view, I mean, Maria, you can hop in on this, but to my view, yes, they had, because they asked for 2 items to be updated, which was for corrections done to the lines, and they asked for those plans to be updated and for the document to be sent back in with the updated plans, updated sketches or plans in them.
It says in here that they've requested a reassessment for auxiliary lane warrants. So those are BAR, which are basic right turn, basic left turn, channelized right turn, channelized left turn. In this case, it's obviously left. Using Main Roads requirements, has that warrant assessment been done? And have Main Roads signed off on it or not? Because that's obviously going to have an impact on the proposed driveway layout.
I'd just ask if Marina can answer that question.
The report has done the assessments on auxiliary lanes. You can see that in Rev H. Given that the comments that you are mentioning were made in relation to Rev I report, which was abandoned. Not that report is not put forward in this particular for DAP's consideration.
Okay, so does that mean that this letter that's been appended to the RR court latest correspondence from Main Roads it's moot, it's not relevant anymore? They're not asking for auxiliary lanes or a warrant assessment to be done? If this is the latest piece of correspondence, I can only assume they're still waiting for this information.
My understanding is they're waiting for that information based on I. They weren't waiting for that information based on H. They had asked merely for some updating for a street light, street signs, and changes to the signage on the driveway that was proposed in version H.
Is that correspondence? I'll ask council if it's been appended if it's been put into the RAR, because I don't see this is the last bit of correspondence that we have. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just had a query on the, we can get back to that on the WAPC RAR. Okay, all right, and no further questions of submitters. Then I'll move now to Mr. Trosick. Do you wish to make any preliminary comments on the submission? And I'll then open up panel members' questions of yourself, Mr. Trosick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, members. The officer report was a very comprehensive item that has informed the responsible authority report as well. And you'd particularly would have, I guess, taken some interest into the careful, methodical, and structured way by which we arrived at our land use classification for the proposal. Once that land use classification had been addressed, we then looked into taking us through predominantly how the proposal responded to the matters that we needed to have due regard for under clause 67 of the deemed provisions. The subject land is within a rural locality. It is on a quite a unique road, Thomas Road. I think it's suffice to say that has become a significant strategic east-west link that is only increasing in its status and carriage of traffic, I guess reflective of the two most recent infrastructure upgrades along that road, being the $20 million Nicholson Road, Thomas Road roundabout, and the similar Cargotich Road, Thomas Road roundabout. So the nature of Thomas Road as this property's direct frontage, and for the number of, I guess, rural type industries that still do front this road within the Shire, means that it's important that we carefully work our way through how vehicles will be able to safely access and egress the site. We also needed to ensure that the elements around noise management, elements around visual amenity, elements around, I guess, landscaping, compatibility, scale, were all addressed. And that culminated in a report to our council, which was under the then grandfather provisions that still existed for DAP items that had been submitted prior to the most recent legislative reforms that now mandate responsible authority reports being provided by the administration, the CEO, and in the Shire's case, myself as his delegate. So yeah, I do note that the officer report was supportive. Council did identify some concerns, and an alternative recommendation was endorsed. I'm here today to assist with any questions that I can assist with in terms of the responsible authority report, given it does reflect the officer report, and the recommendation. However, as was the case with the then provisions, the councillor endorsed recommendation appears at the beginning, but we had the essentially the officer recommendation towards the end of the document. So I'm here to assist with regard to any questions that may exist. I'm happy to talk through that. The initial question regarding the 60-ton road trains versus the semi-load trucks that are also utilised at this business. So there's the RAR on page 21 did indeed mention Ankertle Road, Nicholson Road and King Road, which would be exclusively limited to the non-road trains. The second sentence kind of just mentions that the routes for the larger vehicles, vis-a-vis the 60-ton road trains, would be located on the main road, MRWA jurisdiction only roads being the primary and regional distributors. So that's certainly, I guess, a bit of a point of interest, that there's two main types of vehicle, 60-ton road trains as well as 25 to 40-ton semi-loads. So there is a differing sort of opportunity for those vehicles to utilise differing roads that surround the development. And yeah, I didn't have any more specific points to mention other than to assist in any questions that you may have.
Thank you. That being the case, I'll open up questions from the panel.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Director, it's the Shire President. I've got a question in regards to an email that we were sent through at 12:52 today in regards to an R13 direction. And it says that the Shire has replied but refused to provide the required information. Can you just explain that? I don't know what that means, to be honest. And can you just explain why that information wasn't provided?
Certainly, Mr. President, thank you very much for the question. So this pertained to a request that I received yesterday at 4:42. Sorry, let me just make sure I got that. Yeah, received yesterday at 4:13 p.m. And the request was for a copy of the Shire's legal advice that it had obtained when first embarking on the question of land use classification. And sort of my full response that I wrote last night was, if I'm happy to run through it, was essentially that I, as an officer on behalf of the Shire, I wasn't confident in releasing legally, professionally privileged information, given it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the Shire as the client. And I didn't have sufficient time to obtain authorization to be releasing that information. In terms of it, in my mind, being legally privileged information, I took the view that there was only a very high level reference to the advice in the RAR. I think there was one sentence utilised that had the purpose of just advising that we'd obtained advice in arriving at the land use classification. And so I felt that the Responsible Authority report did not waive the privilege for that legal advice staying legally privileged. And so I guess looking at my duties under the Local Government Act, I wasn't able to provide it, but of course I'm able and still able to provide an explanation of the planning position in terms of land use classification that we arrived at, but we weren't able to release the confidential legal advice that we had obtained very early on in the piece.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask another question if I can?
Yes, go right ahead.
Sorry, Director, I don't know if this is appropriate to be asked to you or to the applicants, but in relation, I was going back to the minutes from that meeting we had in August. One of the concerns was it becoming I'm just going to get the right terms here, a manufacturing facility. Would that have some concerns in terms of our local planning structure and local planning policy in relation to this application?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Certainly, I would emphasise that we can't speculate, or it certainly wouldn't be appropriate for us to speculate what something may evolve into. The applicant has put forward their best foot, and their honest foot forward is a proposal that aligns with the land use definition of sorry, let me just come back to the section so I can quote it in the report. So the land use definition of industry rural. And so I never have a worry about what could happen because we know we've got the protection of the planning framework. If someone departs from their approval, we can undertake compliance action and, if necessary, enforcement action to bring them back to compliance with their approval. So it is a use that is discretionary within the rural zone. There was a very careful, I guess, points taken by myself and my officers to ensure we really carefully considered the classification of the land use. The applicant assisted with that as well by getting their own advice. Certainly I was very, and I remain very comfortable and confident in saying that the correct land use definition is industry rural, which is a discretionary use in the rural zone, meaning it's able to be permitted with the exercise of discretion.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Other panel members? Yes, Member Haggard.
Okay, Director at Council. Do you have any tech services people there to answer my questions?
I've got the latest position in terms of what main roads expressed to the Shire. There hasn't been any circling back of information that includes the Shire since our RAR was provided in August. I understand the engagement's been between Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage officers and Main Roads, and of course the applicant. So the last advices we obtained were, I guess I'd describe them as we set them out in the RAR, that there were concerns about the robustness of the intersection treatment to be actually force, for want of a better word, force vehicles to ensure they are only doing the left in, left out arrangements. I guess that seems like a design response that could be addressed, hence why officers were supportive of the proposal. There was some other sort of information advised in terms of street lighting and whether sufficient levels of street lighting had been provided. And we maintain the position that these concerns can be addressed through the design of the intersection crossover. With the design adjustments, some concerns around the LILO and the island offsets and the street lighting, and whether an additional left auxiliary turning lane being required. We felt they were incidental enough to the design of the crossover that they could be conditioned and addressed through a suitable condition.
Okay, I guess my question really was, are you in receipt of the most recent feedback from Main Roads based on whatever engagement the applicant or the Shire has had or DPLH has had with Main Roads? The latest correspondence I have is dated the 3rd of December, and it's still indicating they're waiting for more information. So presumably any information that is going to be provided would be going through the Shire. So has there, since this was published, has any more information come from the applicant through the Shire to be sent to Main Roads?
Yeah, because the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage have exclusively sort of taken carriage of the, I guess, the Main Roads position by virtue of the Shire position being supportive of the proposal and not aligned with the concerns Main Roads had raised. There had been, I understand, the work being done specifically with DPLH. We kind of, I guess for want of a better word, we were ultimately in a somewhat passive role, not having a lot of engagement, personally myself or my officers, with the arrival of a RAR by DPLH officers. But certainly the DPLH RAR does illustrate the ongoing engagement they've had with Main Roads. So our position sort of remains that, yes, we do understand main roads weren't supportive in August and that they're still raising some concerns. We would, welcome any sort of assistance we can provide in maybe an appropriate condition, but yeah, I don't have more specific information in respect of what main roads have mentioned on the 3rd of December.
So you're not aware of any correspondence that indicates that these issues have been resolved?
I haven't seen any sort of specific confirmation that issues have been overcome. If there is that information, that would be certainly useful. I would agree for the DAP today.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I've got one.
Andrew?
The proponents have suggested the deletion of condition C. You have a view on that? Which is basically the PIA. Do you have a view on that? Or a modification to it?
So I think condition C talked about the updated TIA on advice of Main Roads WA. So the trip generation surveys associated with the development. The background to that, if I recall, was associated with, just reading, yeah, so it had a March date for the TIA, and then Main Roads, I recall, raised some concerns regarding the TIA pertaining to methodology in terms of estimating volumes, and worried about the evidence-based trip general survey data that was relied upon, and the applicant did provide sort of an equivalent example as the best available to underpin the TIA. I don't believe it's, from what I'm hearing, I don't necessarily feel it's a critical or a difficult condition to comply with. I think if it assisted in the DAP's consideration of it, I feel the condition still has a role to play in terms of just giving that data to underpin the traffic volume calculations and demonstrate how I think the booking system will regulate vehicle flow, so you don't have any of that potential tailback of vehicles onto Thomas Road.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? I've got a couple. Just for clarification, why wasn't there considered to be a deceleration lane or a left turning lane on Thomas Road?
So I guess the condition that has been supported by the Shire does talk about a sort of design process to address, I guess, that one of those points being the notion of a deceleration lane. So the view about whether a deceleration lane was required, I guess, was a function of the traffic generation and the traffic impact assessment. But I do acknowledge that that appeared certainly at the point in time to be sort of a point of needing to be further assessed, and that kind of formed the basis of condition B, or what was the officer recommended condition B, to look at engineering drawings being submitted and approved by the Shire on advice of Main Roads, whether that needs to be strengthened up if Main Roads are now contemplating a desire in respect of that auxiliary lane. I guess that's an option.
Okay, when's the Thomas Road duplication in that section planned for?
Yes, certainly I can help with that. So the Thomas Road duplication that's currently funded is east of this land. It's about another 5 kilometres east, and it runs between Cargotich Road, Thomas Road through to Southwest Highway. So the section of, or this section of Thomas Road is not earmarked for any immediate duplication by the state government. The planning control area and the works that have been identified as part of the ultimate freeway upgrade between Westport and essentially Tonkin Highway, they utilise sort of Anketel Road then turning into Thomas Road. So this land is, I guess, to the south of that future interchange. So I think the focus will be on the delivery of that infrastructure and sort of the section of Thomas Road between Anketel Road and Kwinana Freeway will probably stay in its kind of current form for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions. No one else got further questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for answering the questions we've had. And the panel, we will now move into our discussion on the item. So we can do that. I need a mover, seconder to the published responsible authority report, which in this case is a refusal. Do I have a mover? Don't have a mover. I don't have a seconder. So that motion lapses, or that recommendation lapses. Do I have a mover for the alternate recommendation which we have before us, which is the officer's recommendation? Yes, Shire President will move that. Do I have a seconder? Yes. Yes, Shire President, speak to the motion.
Thank you, through the chair. I've heard this afternoon the deputations by the applicant, also the comments from the Director of Development Services at the Shire of Serpentine, Jarrahdale. The concerns I had initially, and I think it was very pertinent to the refusal, was in terms of main roads concerns. I acknowledge the recommendation that I've now moved with the conditions, specifically paragraph B, which talks about the drawings, which the Director has spoken to. Similarly, even condition or paragraph C, I think that's important in terms of the traffic impact assessment. I think those two conditions themselves will be able to allay concerns from traffic, and that certainly was a live concern for me and certainly from council and the community. I acknowledge the work that the Director has done at the Shire, and also to work with the applicants in terms of the right-of-way and moving that driveway. So I commend this, the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Gillespie.
I'll be supporting them on the basis that I'm happy with the conditions as they are for approval. It aligns with the planning framework for industry rule, in my view. It's compliant with 34.26. I think that the concerns raised by some of the surrounding residents are covered in the conditions. There's significant separation between this development and residential. I think the officers have done a very good job in going over everything, and I don't actually have a copy of condition O, even though I've looked at it. I think I can't get it to my computer.
That's the wording there.
Okay. All right. Yep, that's fine. On that basis, I think it's going to have a significant employment impact for the area, and in my view, directly is related to agriculture. On that basis, I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Herg, do you speak to the item?
Yeah, I have significant concerns about not the quantum so much, either the land use, what type of traffic generates, number of trucks, that's all been clarified. And any concerns I had have been said. What I am concerned about is the lack of documented engagement with the road owner in terms of progressing the design of the driveway. I appreciate that the potential conflict with the right of way, that's been largely resolved, that's great. But in terms of repeated requests for information in terms of, and it's totally not related to the right of way, things like, a warrant assessment for the upgrade of Thomas Road or changes to Thomas Road in terms of accommodating left turn in movements, the design of the driveway, and other sort of minor requests that, while I'm not concerned about, main roads needs to be allayed because they're the infrastructure owner and operator. And there's a reference to, and the number of different versions of the traffic report is extremely confusing. The one that's referred to in the council report is different than the one that's referred to in the RER, but it's not the current one. And I appreciate that, reports can be reissued, et cetera. But the primary issues that DPLH and Main Road seem to be concerned about, those issues have not been resolved. And I haven't received any sort of confident, satisfactory reply from the applicant that those issues are resolved. There's engagement going on with Main Roads. There seems to be some very large gaps in the requested information that just remain unanswered. And for that reason, I can't support this application at this time.
Thank you. Well, I've considered the application, been over it a number of times, and in terms of the development, I think the site in the context of its current planning framework, I think this is an appropriate rural use, and the use class can be defined as industry rural. Objectives of the zone are, amongst other things, to provide a limited range of non-rural land uses only where they have noted a direct benefit to the local community and are compatible with the surrounding rural uses. I can see that it does have a direct benefit to the local community, and looking at the locality, the surrounding rural uses, there's a range of uses there that range from a transport depot taking direct access with heavy vehicles, large vehicles onto Thomas Road. There are a number of other rural uses and large buildings in the locality, and a lot of those, if they've been approved, can be considered non-rural uses. I'm satisfied that the use is industry rural, and on the basis that the proponents have submitted a range of technical reports that have demonstrated that the use is compatible with surrounding uses. And these include the traffic impact assessment, environmental noise assessment, and the bushfire management plan. To my mind, they've all demonstrated to my satisfaction that they've considered the impact on the amenity of the locality. The transport impact assessment, traffic impact assessment, shows that current and future traffic volumes and truck movements to the facility, they're not exorbitant, they're not very high. There's a few hundred vehicles a day, and given Thomas Road is a regional road and it's going to be duplicated and more traffic going on it if the volumes of traffic are maintained about the same going forward, then I don't see traffic volumes from this facility a problem. I'll get back to the design in a minute. Environmental noise assessment demonstrates that noise generated from the operation is within acceptable EPA guidelines, and in order to ensure compliance with those guidelines, there's a noise management plan submitted. There's also the bushfire management plan that's demonstrated compliance with risk and safety considerations under our state bushfire management policies. Notwithstanding the compliance with the traffic noise and bushfire reports, the proposal has been thoroughly assessed and the proponents are required to prepare a number of additional documents to ensure the amenity of the locality is not unduly impacted. And that includes a landscape plan, construction management plan, operational management plan, signage plan, dust management plan, drainage management plan, noise management plan, and a waste management plan. Quoted for effect, I think, because it does demonstrate that the council and the proponents have taken a lot of steps to assuage a lot of the concerns of the opponents. And these sorts of plans aren't uncommon in a lot of development applications these days where there has been some concerns raised. So in regard to the issue of access to the site, I can foresee when the duplication of Thomas Road comes about, I'm sure that the adjoining landowner is probably going to lose some frontage for his truck depot, and this site there'll be a very pragmatic approach to that right of way to ensure that both the truck depot and this site can have access from it. And to that end, the conditions that are imposed to sort out this access to the roadway may in effect result in the proponents, the council, Main Roads, to utilise the right of way for access. So given that, I am supporting the application. That being the case, Shire President has right of reply.
I'll reserve. Thank you, Chair. I think everything's been said. Thank you.
Okay, fine. All right. But with that having been said, I neglected to move an amendment to the recommendation, moving Amendment 1 to include a new condition put forward by the applicant, that the applicant is to enter into a deed of agreement with the Shire regarding the removal of the crossover, the wording that they put forward through their legal representative. I don't know whether you have got a copy of that.
I don't, Chair, no.
Yeah, I'll read it out if it's the case. The applicant is to, this will be a new condition, I don't have the number.
No.
Well, it's their condition, oh, is it your condition? Oh, okay.
The last condition was N.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, new condition.
All right. The applicant is to enter into a deed of agreement with the Shire of Serpentine, Jarrahdale, which on the construction of the right of way, in brackets lot 100 on diagram 31071, close brackets, requires the removal of the approved crossover to Thomas Road to access to the site to be obtained either A, via the right of way, or B, via a new crossover approved and constructed further east along the Thomas Road frontage at a sufficient distance from the right of way. Now, having moved that, I think that the applicants have put that forward. Whether they have jurisdiction to put that forward on a main road, I'm not that sure. Perhaps you could enlighten me on that. Because it is a main road.
It is a main road. In respect of main road crossovers, Mr. Trossick might be able to help me with this. It's local government functions
Well,
and
look,
general regulations which give you the authorisation, I think, from memory.
Given the conditions that are already there and the fact that we probably can't do it, I'll withdraw that amendment. So to that end, I will now put the recommendation as I'll withdraw that on reflection. So I'll put the recommendation as published, the alternate recommendation. All those in favour? 3 against, 1. The recommendation is carried. Thank you. All right, moving on the agenda. Item 4, Form 2DAP applications, there are none. Item 5, Section 31, SAT reconciliations, there are none. Part D, other business, SAT applications of Supreme Court Appeals. Oh, I thought we were going to, oh yes, sorry. We move on to the WAPC section, which is 3.1B of the agenda. Skip that on the yes. Okay, so we have proponents still here.
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, definitely. Yes, you have to stay soon because it's still here. Yeah, this is the other report. Okay. Well, we're now moving into item 3.1D, which is because this is a dual consideration application. We have to deal with the Planning and WA Planning Commission approval. We have Martin Lecker, Cale Luxton, Lena Stripper, and Sultan bin Hussain. There we are. Thank you. Sorry, Beth, I skipped that. Now, would you like to make any comments following the deputations that have been made?
Through the chair.
It might help us about this toing and froing with these revisions.
Yeah, I was just thinking, we've certainly got a very narrow focus to our so I'll skip context, background, that sort of stuff. But I was thinking perhaps I could provide a timeline which might clarify where things have ended up, where things started with.
Anything that will clarify things, because as you can see, we have some need for clarification.
And then I would need to address matters such as maybe some misunderstandings over consent versus right-of-way closure.
Yeah.
Also, alternative condition I might need to address. But certainly starting with the timeline. So there were 2 comments received from Main Roads to the Shire up until about July, and there were 2 TIS provided with those comments. And in approximately July or August, the Shire determined that they would, well, they didn't accept Main Road's position. Main Road's requested further advice. So in accordance with the delegation, they sent the application to the WAPC for a WAPC responsible authority report. So following that, the proposal with revisions was sent back to Main Roads, and that was revision H, which has been brought up today. And Main Roads provided comments on revision H, not in a letter format, but as comments in emails, and they are copy pasted into the WPC RAR. Now, at some point, I'm going to guess approximately September-ish, it was raised with the applicant that the accessway and crossover encroached into a right-of-way, and that all landowners abutting rights-of-way have either statutory rights to access the right-of-way or implied rights if there's no statutory rights. I think implied rights are far more common. Essentially, all right-of-ways, everyone who abuts a right-of-way has implied rights. And in discussions with the applicant on that matter, it was determined that the access point proposed by the application would need to be shifted somewhere on Thomas Road. Specific location of how far it might need to be shifted wasn't quite known. That would be a Main Roads matter. Would it need to be shifted 20 metres or 100 metres or somewhere in between or further? It would be shifted based on a study being provided to say that the intersection or the crossover to Thomas Road would need to be based on certain parameters, X metres from this right-of-way. And that was also discussed with Main Roads. And so that was discussed with the applicant, and Main Roads were in the process of considering the version HTIS at that time and providing comments on plans and things like that. And it was decided that Main Roads seemed reasonably getting closer towards potentially providing conditional support. So at that time, we determined that we would let those comments play out with Main Roads because they might essentially get to a point where they'll recommend conditional approval. It turns out they didn't, but it seems like they were getting close to it. And it was determined that once we got them essentially across the line conceptually with an intersection to Thomas Road, we would provide revised plans to Main Roads with a intersection which doesn't conflict with a crossover which doesn't conflict with the intersection of the right-of-way. And so as a result, the version I TIS was prepared, which shifted, unfortunately, the crossover a couple metres, which, as you can see, if anyone's got the plans handy, or that would be an attachment to the TIS version I. There are various updated intersection plans there. The crossover still slightly goes over the right-of-way and certainly isn't separated by any distance. And I was hoping that that version would provide a much greater separation. The applicant requested that version be sent to Main Roads for fresh comments. My view was that it wouldn't be supported and probably shouldn't be sent to Main Roads, and then the intersection needed to be separated further. So that's what Main Roads have now provided the 3 December comments on, that revision I and a slightly shifted intersection. And that was approximately while I was writing the RAR report, so it was limited time frame for discussion. Following the submission of the RAR to the JDAP, we've all met with Main Roads on a potential intersection, which was, I haven't got the specific figures on me, but maybe 150 metres further down Thomas Road to completely remove access constrictions, conflicts with the right-of-way, but it appears that that wasn't, that hasn't gone anywhere or hasn't been presented to the DAP. Hopefully I've provided a coherent, I'll move on to other matters. Is there anything that I may have?
No, that's fine. It's still a little bit confusing as to why and how, but it certainly clarifies it for me.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where I need to point at some plans and revisions and documents, but
yes, it would help. Okay, go ahead. You've got other.
Yeah, so I think these points are covered in our RAR conclusion, but I'll jump to some notable matters, and maybe if this time we can get more things in detail. When the application was lodged, the driveway did specifically cross over onto the right of way. And the plans which are being requested to be determined still do encroach onto the right of way. And a clause, I forget the specific clause in the MRS, says that all development applications need to be accompanied by landowner consent. Now, that was recently provided by the Shire. The Shire manages that right of way on behalf of the state and has authority to sign off for consent. Now, something that might be getting slightly mixed up is that this consent to lodge a development application, and we might need to just check with the Shire, if we still have the Shire online, their views on this. But this is the signature that was provided is purely consent. So, for example, the state, someone might propose a cafe in a park and would require the state to sign off for an application. That application would still be subject to an assessment. There's no suggestion that the state, this is, I'm talking theoretically, signing off on an application is also approving it. It's simply sent to lodge an application as a requirement performance matter. So that's what's now being provided. That's consent in the function of the right of way. So that remains a state matter that would be a closure of a right of way would be signed off under delegation by the Minister for Lands. So we still have the conflict with that particular intersection, and the consent provided by local government to lodge the application is not consent in any way to impact the function of that right of way. And I should say, jumping again ahead and sort of a bit around, I'm not confident that either the WAPC, the DAP sitting in the WAPC's shoes, Shire, or any party other than the Minister for Lands would have, through a process, a standard process, would have any authority to impinge, to, I guess, to, what's the right word? Thinking, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm thinking in legal terms. So there's so as I mentioned before, all landowners abutting a right of way have rights to use that right of way. So I'm not sure that the authorities here today have the authority to impact that right. So if we would be.
I'll just jump in and ask the question. Well, if they do have the authority to access that right of way because they abut it, where does this not confer on them or extend that authority? Others can use that. I mean, nobody's using it at the moment. So this.
Well, there might be someone who drives a Hilux there once every 6 months.
I don't know whether there's.
We just don't know.
Yeah, bush bashing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this owner will undertake some works with the authority of the council, who is under the care, control, and management of, I presume.
Certainly, care and control management is distinct from authority to close a right of way.
Do they have to close the right of way? Yeah. They're just going to access it.
No, we're not suggesting that closing the right of way is desirable. And I think in Main Road's latest comments, they've identified that their preference would not be to close the right of way either. Yes, I've sort of jumped around.
That's okay. That's okay.
I think to simplify where the department currently is at is that our assessment is limited to matters relating to the primary regional road and the construction of the access point and any works required to the primary regional road itself. We don't currently have support of main roads or conditions that we think we can impose that would then also make it satisfactory. So our concern is that the proposal hasn't presented a TIA or TIS that provides for a safe functioning intersection that allows Thomas Road to maintain its function to the satisfaction of main roads. And for that reason, we haven't been able to recommend a conditional approval for it.
That's understandable. I get that. We've had these situations before. In the context of the conditions in the Shires, Ra, do you think, I mean, the opponents, I think, understand that we're approving the development and we've put conditions on it that they've still got to get approval from Main Roads on this intersection. I'm not preempting anything, but I mean, we could refuse the application because they haven't got that, or under the your RA, or we can approve it conditional upon them getting approval to the intersection, which would be much in the same as what we've done for the council. I'm not preempting, and we'd have to craft conditions accordingly. But
I think our traffic engineers may be able to provide a bit more clarity on it, but based on the advice we've received from Main Roads to date, we're not confident that a condition like that is clearable. It may be one that Main Roads will never be satisfied that it is a safe functioning intersection.
So that's
any condition that cannot be cleared and needs to be cleared by an approval from a third party.
Well, it has to be certain. Conditions have to be certain, and so that we don't have that in this instance. But we've got the with the council's approval, their conditions that they have to clear on advice from Main Roads. We can approve it.
That Main Roads would still be required to approve any works.
Of course, yeah. That's why we're sending them there. In terms of an approval from the Commission, it would still require that the Commission approves and that the proponents get a condition saying that the intersection has to be designed and constructed to the satisfaction of the WA Planning Commission on advice from Main Roads.
We would normally only apply a condition like that where we had Main Roads approval already, I suppose, and we knew that there was a design that could be approved, and we don't know that yet. Do you want to know something?
Yeah, I think there's maybe some uncertainty which hasn't been addressed about the right of way and it being physically large enough to accommodate triple road trains. I would think we would need the responsible Main Roads to say that it's.
I don't think we're using the right of way as such.
No, but the condition that is being, sorry to interrupt you, the condition being put forward by the applicants is that it would be moved to the right of way, but there's no certainty that that right of way can be.
Oh, that was their alternative or condition, which I withdrew.
Sorry, but sorry, Chair. I was thinking that I needed to address that in case there was thoughts that the Commission might support that condition.
No. Okay. All right. Well, do we have any questions of the department officers? Yes.
I'm sure this has been answered already or not. Are you aware of any additional correspondence beyond the 3rd of December from Main Roads in terms of any receipt of any additional information that they requested in that particular letter, or any further engagement sign off on their part in absence of them being here?
Through the Chair, I have Main Roads and changed a few emails. We left off with a plan which hasn't been put to the DAP, and Main Roads have advised that further information from the 3rd of December comments, and that's the reason for them.
So they're still awaiting information?
That's correct.
Okay, so they're awaiting information as documented in that particular letter?
That's correct, but it appears that as of this DAP meeting, potentially the plans and TIS have moved, maybe branched out in certain directions, and we might be making a decision on TIS plans
That are not,
as opposed to Main Road's current comments.
So, thank you.
All right. Thank you. If there's no further questions, into our discussion on the item. And I need a mover to the item 3.1B. It's the recommendation of WA Planning Commission. Do I have a mover for that? It is to refuse the application for 3 reasons and a number of sub-reasons. I don't have a mover, so
I don't. I put my hand up.
do we have a seconder? The recommendation lapses for want of a seconder. I have an alternative recommendation for this. If not, I'll move to defer the application under this 3.1B. On the basis that I don't have the wording, unfortunately, but we will craft something. Get legs in order to.
This is not for this application, but here's some wording. Defer. Change the application and accompanying evidence, and then you need a time frame.
Yeah.
And then some reason.
Okay. Defer the application for. The wording would be to defer the application and accompanying plans for a period of, I would consider, not much will happen in January.
90 days.
Probably 90 days. Okay.
For reasons.
And the reason being for the applicants to liaise with Main Roads, WA, and I'll throw in the Department of Planning here as well, in order to resolve any outstanding matters relating to the use of and treatment right of way and access
From Thomas Road.
From Thomas Road into proposed development. Any other? That sound okay?
Let's get a seconder for that.
I'll just get a seconder. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Member Herget. Okay. My reasoning behind it is fairly clear. There still seems to be some uncertainty as to the position of decision makers or authorities and the proponents, because I wasn't convinced that the proponents had in fact given us a clear indication. It may not be their fault, I mentioned, but I still am a bit confused as to the timing and responses from the authorities. So for that reason, I think a deferral would be better than a refusal. A second, if you to speak.
Yeah, as I've indicated previously on the previous item, I've no concern about the land use, the number, the amount of traffic generated, the types of vehicles. etc. My concern relates entirely really relating to the Thomas Road access and some certainty that the road authority owner and operator that the applicants engaged sufficiently with the road authority. In this case, Main Roads, to resolve the issues relating to any deceleration lane upgrades, changes to Thomas Road from a safety and perspective. And those concerns, as far as I can see in this area, remain outstanding and have not been resolved yet. So I'm hoping that this deferral will afford the applicant and its consultant team time to resolve, engage with Main Roads, and come back to us with a little more certainty in regards to access and to the site.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to the recommendation? If not, I'll put the alternate recommendation. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Now I can move on to the next. There are none. 5 set reconsiderations. There are none. The other business, set application, Supreme Court Appeals, there are none. We'll close the meeting then at 2:51 p.m. and thank all in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.